There's a man who does not just race at Watkins Glen. He owns it. And this weekend, he came back, quieter than usual, more focused than anyone in the paddock. And the moment his number 9 Chevrolet hit that first corner in practice, every other crew chief in the garage looked up from their pit boards and thought the same thing. Here we go again. Chase Elliott is at Watkins Glen. He has momentum, he has a plan, and if history means anything in NASCAR, this weekend belongs to him. Not every driver has a place that feels like home on a racetrack. Some guys are oval specialists, comfortable in the noise and the draft and the rhythm of left turns. But Chase Elliott is different. He has always been different. And Watkins Glen International is the track that proved it to the entire world. This is where he got his first Cup Series win. This is the track where a young driver from Dawsonville, Georgia, stepped out of his father's shadow, silenced every doubter, and planted his flag in NASCAR history. So when Chase Elliott arrived this weekend and called Watkins Glen a special track, he was not reading from a PR script. He meant every single word of it, and the people who know him understood exactly what that meant. He was not here to finish second. Before we even get to Watkins Glen, we have to talk about what happened in Texas, because that context changes everything. Chase Elliott came into this road course weekend not as a driver searching for form, not as someone trying to rebuild confidence. He came here as a winner. His recent victory at Texas gave him the kind of momentum that is genuinely difficult to manufacture, the kind that comes from executing under pressure, from making the right calls at the right time, from a team that is clicking on every level. Motorsport media immediately placed him among the race favorites for Watkins. And honestly, looking at his form, his history at this circuit, and the confidence inside the Hendrick Motorsports camp right now, it would have been strange if they had not. Here is something that most casual fans did not notice, but every engineer in the paddock absolutely. Hendrick Motorsports did not just show up at Watkins Glen with a generic road course setup. They came prepared in a very specific, very calculated way. The team used data from Circuit of the Americas, another technical road course, and applied those learnings directly to their Watkins Glen preparation. That is not a small detail. That is a team that is thinking 3 steps ahead, that is refusing to leave anything on the table, that is doing the kind of analytical work behind the scenes that separates championship-level organizations. When your car arrives at a track already dialed in before the first practice lap, you're already ahead of half the field before the engine even starts. Chase Elliott was also asked this week about the weather conditions heading into race day, and his answer told you a lot about how deeply he understands this particular circuit. He acknowledged that cooler weather was in the forecast, but he made it clear that it would not dramatically alter the race picture, because Watkins Glen is already, in his own words, a very fast and line-sensitive track. What he meant by that is important. At a track this demanding, where the racing line is razor-thin and the margin for error is almost non-existent, the variables that matter most are car balance, driver instinct, and confidence in the machinery. And right now, Chase Elliott has all 3. The weather might shift strategy slightly, but it cannot change the fact that some drivers simply understand this track on a different level than others. On May 9th, 2026, when the official practice session ran at Watkins Glen, Chase Elliott was exactly where you would expect him to be, fully locked in, on track, working. Reports and images from that session showed him behind the wheel of the number 9 Chevrolet, going through every corner with the kind of deliberate focus that his team recognizes. This was not a driver going through the motions. This was not someone putting in exploratory laps and heading back to the hauler. Elliott was communicating with his engineers, making adjustments, refining his approach lap by lap. The paddock noticed, the media noticed, and if his competitors were watching the timing screens closely, they noticed too. NASCAR experts heading into this race weekend identified 3 names as the biggest threats at Watkins Glen: Shane Van Gisbergen, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott. And when you look at that list, a pattern becomes very clear. These are 3 drivers who treat road courses not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. Van Gisbergen came into NASCAR with a road racing pedigree that is genuinely elite, having won championships in international series before ever turning a wheel in American stock car racing. Kyle Larson is one of the most complete drivers of his generation, capable of winning on any surface, any format, any configuration. And then there is Elliott, who has made Watkins Glen practically his personal property over the years. When these three are in the same race on a technical road course, everyone else is essentially racing for position 4. There is one more element to this weekend that adds an extra layer of tension and uncertainty, and that is the fact that Watkins Glen is running on an unusual May schedule this year. Historically, this race has been a summer event, typically held in August when conditions are hot, dry, and predictable. May brings a completely different atmospheric picture. The temperatures are cooler, the forecast is less stable, and the possibility of rain hangs over the entire weekend like a storyline waiting to be. Rain at Watkins Glen does not just change strategy, it reshapes the entire race. It favors drivers with exceptional car feel, with the ability to adapt in real time, with the kind of experience in mixed conditions that only comes from years of racing at the highest level. And once again, when you ask yourself which drivers have all of those qualities together, the same names keep rising to the top. So here's where we stand. Chase Elliott is at a track he loves, coming off a win, backed by a team that has done its homework, and surrounded by the kind of confidence that is genuinely difficult to fake. The conditions might be tricky, the competition is real, and this version of Watkins Glen in May is something nobody has a full blueprint. But if you have watched Chase Elliott at this circuit even once, you already know one thing for certain. Do not count him out. Do not even think about it. Because when that green flag drops at Watkins Glen, there will be one driver in that field who is not just racing the track. He will be racing history. And history, at this place, belongs to the number 9.